You're live on the AM show right here on JoyNews, your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This is the AM News on the AM show. Let's begin with President Akufo Addo, who's described as unfortunate comments by former President John Mahama, questioning the authenticity of the recent West Africa Senior School certificate examination results. Former President Mahama had earlier said some invigilators relaxed on the job while teachers aided students in answering questions. Addressing the 187th Speech and Prize Giving Day at the Wesley Girls High School in Cape Coast, President Akufo Addo said the criticism lacks merit.
There's a pity, though. The sad nature of aspects of contemporary Ghanaian politics drove some otherwise allegedly responsible people, including a former president and perennial presidential candidate, to question the integrity of the results, happily, without any foundation, and attribute these results to cheating. Students of Wesley Girls High School, Wege girls, do you cheat in examinations? I'm sure this loud no send a strong message to those who express this unfortunate, misguided sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, government intends to continue to deepen the education of our population so as to attain our industrialization objective. This means that there will be increasing emphasis on science and technology education and technical and vocational training. The Accra STEM Academy, a school dedicated principally to teaching and learning of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM, is almost complete and will be commissioned this year. The development of 20 STEM centers and 10 model STEM senior high schools across the country stages of completion. Some of these schools have been operationalized and have been fitted with state-of-the-art equipment and laboratories to facilitate teaching and learning in all areas of study, including artificial intelligence and robotics. We intend to put STEM education in a central, relevant place in our educational structure, and I have no doubt that the alumni of Wesley Girls will distinguish themselves in the fields of artificial intelligence and robotics. And in so doing, we will not neglect the critical contribution of the humanities to the growth of our society and civilization. Indeed, it is being accepted that the best balance is not just STEM education, but actually STEAM, i.e. STEM plus the arts.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mahama has also been encouraging Ghanaian youth who've lost interest in the voting in the upcoming elections to resign their decision. According to him, election presents them the opportunity to drop governments that have failed in their mandate. Mr. Mahama, who was addressing students of selected tertiary institutions in the northern region, however, invited supporters of the NPP to join the cause to change the government.
We have elections this year. I meet a lot of young people, and they tell me, we are not going to vote. Of course, I know a lot of them are disappointed because they voted for some people who deceived them and raised their expectations so high. And so because of that, they say we're not going to vote because we're tired of voting, we don't see any difference. And I want to say to those people that you must punish those who disappointed you. Those who raised your expectation and said that they were going to turn Ghana into a paradise within a certain specified time frame and have disappointed you, you must punish them so that tomorrow somebody won't come and do the same thing. And so let's take an interest in the democratic process, because that is the only way you can effect change. Things won't change as long as you remain passive. If people come and take you for granted, and because of that you say you won't vote, other people will vote. But then you will not have solved the problem that you wanted to resolve by not voting. And so please, I expect all young people in this country to vote, especially the disappointed NPP youth. Please vote your party out so that they'll go and do their homework again.
That was former President John Mahama encouraging the youth to rescind their decision to vote during the elections. But the former president also has opposed the proposal of the 2024 general elections to be held on November 7th. He explains that the proposed change of date is not feasible, as the Electoral Commission has not exhibited its preparedness to organize the elections in November.
There's already indication that this government has begun scheming to undermine the credibility of the elections. We cannot fail to notice the sudden interest and the push by the Electoral Commission to shift the date of the elections from December 7th to November 7th, at a time when it has not demonstrated its readiness to conduct even the general election. The lack of preparedness was clearly manifest in the District Assembly elections held in December last year. Elementary lapses and shocking logistical shortfalls painted a picture of a commission which is simply not able to undertake the elementary tasks of managing an election. One would have thought that the commission would spend its time to put its house in order and hold itself in full readiness for the assignment ahead, rather than proposing bizarre changes to the voting calendar. Over a month into the election year, something as basic as a calendar of activities for the year has not yet been prepared by the Electoral Commission. As pointed out by our representatives at the IPAC, to which we have recently returned, the EC must concern itself with getting the basics right and ensuring full readiness for the election before seeking to bite what it does not need to chew. We in the NDC do not find a proposal for a change in date for elections from December to November as feasible nor helpful, and will not be supporting same, as we do not believe that this is being proposed in good faith. I know that the minority leader has clearly articulated this position of non-support of the constitutional changes required to enable this to happen.
Away from that, about 10,000 victims of the spillage of the Akosombo Dam in North Tong constituency are still living in tents and other makeshift structures 5 months after devastating flooding. This according to Member of Parliament for the area, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who has facilitated the construction of 2 alternative housing schemes to house up to 600 people. Former President John Mahama, who's backing the parliamentary probe into the spillage, says government has been insensitive to the plight of the victims. Kwekwa Sante has the rest of the story from Mepe.
It's been 5 months since the floodgates of the Akosombo Dam was opened, leaving in its wake devastation never seen in decades. So many people reduced to living in tents with their entire livelihoods wiped off. With the water now receded and the people trying to build back their lives, so much help is still needed. For now, the focus of MP for North Tong, one of the worst affected constituencies, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and his partners, is to relocate as many of the victims as possible and resettle them in decent accommodations. The MP has now opened the second alternative housing project to house at least 300 families.
We have been able to mobilize those resources and put together this second housing project, which we are calling the North Tong MP and Partners Safe alternative housing initiative. From tonight, 300 people who are living in refugee-like tents in Dagome, in Agbetiko, in Aveime, in Dofwadidoma, in Fojoku. From tonight, they can have access to decent, modern accommodation, and they can have their dignity restored.
The MP says it is unacceptable that government is failing to live up to its responsibilities.
Waiting for the central government to commence the construction of resettlement homes. How long are people going to be living like refugees in their own country, in their own hometown? How long? How long are we going to be living in tents? Very soon, the rainy season will be upon us. Those tents cannot save us. So His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo Addo and Vice President Alhaji Mahmudu Bawumia remember your oath of office.
Former President John Mahama, who is backing the parliamentary probe into the spillage of the Akosombo Dam, is also accusing government of turning a blind eye to the plight of the victims.
I urge the Speaker of Parliament, after he ruled that there should be a public inquiry, I urge him to go ahead and set up the committee, so that a bipartisan committee, so that they can hold a public inquiry. This inquiry must be televised so that the whole of Ghana can see it transparently, in order that we know exactly what happened, so that it will not be repeated again. Let me appeal to the President, Nana Akufo Addo, and his Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to be more responsive and sensitive to the plight of the victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage, and immediately get to work to commence resettling the victims. The insensitivity of government to the plight of these victims is unacceptable.
Chiefs in the area are helpless and furious.
The Volta Regional House of Chiefs is calling on government and VRA for a complete resettlement of the impacted communities that suffered as a result of what VRA did to us.
More than 10,000 persons still have to be relocated to be moved away from shelters like these, which have been described as inhumane.
The main challenge we have now is accommodation. Like, we need proper structure. The tent, if you enter in the morning, you feel comfortable, but during the afternoon, there's so much heat, so you can't even stay in it. Yes, and even if it rained, last time it rained, the whole place was so disorganized.
But at least while these people wait for their government to come to their aid after budgeting more than 200 million cedis, Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell and his partners are doing their bit to help ameliorate the suffering of the people and put them back to living decent lives. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Mefe, North Tong, Volta.
Some youth in WASSCE constituency in the Ashanti region are advocating for the completion of 3 Astro projects initiated by the government. They say government had assured the construction of these Astro with the aim of nurturing local talent. Unfortunately, the aspirations have been crushed as construction has come to a halt, causing the once vibrant football culture to fade away. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more in the following report.
We have about 3 pitches in WASSCE which have been abandoned, Highlanders, Cooper, and that one we are standing behind us as I'm speaking now. Our wish and dream is to have the parks being built so that we can have more players in our community, because WASSCE have produced a lot of players. Some of the players that we have produced are like somebody like Dogomoro, we have Ishak Debra and Jerry, and even as I'm speaking now, we have some of the young players like Frank, a Black Star player.
The sword has been cut. So we know when the sword is cut from a government project, it needs to be completed. But per the documentation as we had, that everything is complete, but looking at the surrounding, nothing shows. We know government control how it goes. We have phases of it. Okay, the documentation they say it's complete, but we don't know.
The place has been like this, and the youth don't have place to train, so they usually play the football. So as you can see, some of the nets have all torn down due to, one or two things. So it's a big debt to country again, which we have to renovate again.
So WASSCE, a constituency rich in talent and dreams, but hidden beneath the shadows of neglect lies a symbol of broken promises and unfulfilled potential.
So we feel very discriminated in a situation by this is started before others, the likes of the Chamso, and others. They've seen this way after this has been started. Years completed. And we are the same people that are using these facilities.
So we have our elders going to the minister to inquire. They came with the feedback that the pit has been done since it completed. That is what they told us. That is what our elders told us, that there's nothing to be done again because the pit has been done already. So we have made some feedbacks, we did some demonstrations, let me say 2-3 times, and yet still nothing seems to be happening. So we don't know what to do again. That's why we are pleading to right authorities to take charge.
The Astro tapes, which were expected to be the heartbeat of the community, now echo the silence of neglect.
How? First one, Yadika Islanders, and I joined Sisi Kosha Islanders, Yabuabua, Abubonina, and I'll go one side, and I'm on for ball one side. Sisi Idi Kura Yano Honum, Upa, don't say, I didn't Basa. I didn't was a Basa because of Zongo. In Penufo, I was Zongo, no, or moon like Basu the Kishi Zongo, or moon Akuma Zongo, or moon Akuma Mazongo. Yasai Islanders, also the same thing. I didn't was a Basa. Penufo, yes, Remo, we need him. So then, no Mazongo, and Duru baby, and my Nachina, so no, Yansu Yabomudi, Nakasamoya depa. Emma always Emma say ye be anu man say ye can from Etremo
Started by the MPP government, the Astro tapes were hailed as a game changer for the Swahili community, but as the years passed, the promises faded and the fields fell into disrepair.
Since the beginning of this administration, the current MPP government, which I'm part, no any project that have been started facilities, they are able to finish it. Because even before the commencement of this project, we know definitely this is what is going to happen. Because when we go to our Akyem school, which is near to here, started one, the complaint is the same thing. The complaint is the same thing. No fan.
So we are putting on the belt authorities to help us sort this part for us, so that we can get more and enough talent in our community. Because as I'm saying now, football it's a lot.
There is growing discontent among the youth as they grapple with the consequences of the abandoned projects. As WASSCE continue to wait for action, the fate of the abandoned Astro tapes remains uncertain. Will they ever fulfill their promise of nurturing local talent and providing opportunities for the community, or will they remain as reminders of unfulfilled dreams? Report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Well, that's ended for the AM News right here on the AM Show. My name is Abochie. Up next is the news review. Benjamin and I are back on your screens in a moment. Don't go away.